Hey everyone, it's me Laura, and today we're going to be doing some stages of Natashas with polymer clay canes. And as you can tell here, I have these canes, and they're all measuring about, at least a half an inch to 1 inch. And so I wanted to have something in that range and then chop it up and see what will come out of it from these larger canes and how they might eventually disintegrate down. So here I have my first image of my first Natasha. Not too bad. Let's go ahead and take that same wad and see what other images we get out of this. So this is the results from creating the Natasha images from the large canes I cut up. The first and second images from the left are relatively the same, not much deterioration in the images going on. That being said, when you compare these to creating Natashas from scratch, it isn't in its first stages of being a Natasha image either. The images here, they don't have that blocky look to them. The third image is definitely more blended, and you can see a lot more detail in the image that the first two do not give you. The fourth image is also more blended, and the details in the image are getting smaller. The fifth image and final image in this set is not only more blended, but you are definitely starting to lose some of those details in the image. So now with that said, let's move on into creating our Natashas with my medium-sized canes. Okay, so here are some of my medium-sized canes, and with my ruler you can definitely tell these are definitely under a ½ inch in diameter. So these canes are pretty small. I mean, some people say that's medium, but I figure, well, we're just going to try it up. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to chop these up, and like I said, these are about a ½ inch or under when it comes to size in diameter. Okay, so here's our first image on the medium-sized canes that I combined all together. Not too bad of an image. Definitely more blended for sure. But let's go ahead and chop the rest of this up and see what other images we get out of this. Okay, here we have the results from the medium-sized canes I cut up to create the Natasha image. The first image seemed very defined, with a set pattern showing in it. It is definitely not a blocky pattern, but it does display certain aspects of the canes it came from. So, like for instance, in part of the image, I could see remnants of my bullseye cane and a spiral cane. What was also curious about this image was the domination of the green color. I did not see that domination through any of the other images, and I don't know if it was just that particular one, but that particular color came out in that first image a lot. The second and third images seemed relatively similar in their detail, although the third image certainly displayed smaller areas of pattern where the second one had larger areas. The fourth and fifth stages of the Natasha here are becoming, they're becoming a lot smaller in their images, and the details are starting to blend away in the fifth image. The sixth image I created was also where I really started to see the image blend away completely. There were details, but not as many as before. So with that, let's now move on to creating the Natasha from my smaller canes. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at our small canes. And as you can tell here, the canes are about 1/4 of an inch wide, so they're not very big at all. They're very, very tiny, and they could range from 1/4 of an inch to smaller, whatever I had there. So I just took a bunch of canes I had, like petal canes and bullseye canes, and I thought we'll just go ahead and cut these up and see what happens to them. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm adding in a kaleidoscope cane here that I had created a while back, but it was pretty tiny, and I thought let's go ahead and add this into the mix and see what happens with it in there as well. Okay, so here's my first image from my small canes, and you could tell just from that alone this is pretty detailed. This might be like your 3rd step down or even your 4th step down on the larger or medium-sized canes. But let's go ahead, chop this up, and see what else we get out of this. The first image I got from using small canes to create a Natasha image was probably the best when it came to getting a defined image. I really liked how it turned out. The second image wasn't bad either. It looked pretty good. The third image seemed to lose more details, but by the time I got to create the 4th and 5th images, the details were getting really small, and there really was no real focus of an image in them. And then the 6th image here, you're like, okay, that doesn't look like it quite came from the first part. And you would be right. The 6th image in this frame is from scrap clay. And let's go ahead now and see how this one came about. So creating a Natasha from scrap clay, I really did find that you can't create a stages, or you can't really have a disintegration of what it would get from scrap. And the reason why I say that is because 9 times out of 10 in your scrap clay, you have everything from large cane pieces in there to really tiny, tiny ones. And so when you combine those all together, you're going to have some canes or some scrap clay that's going to go ahead and deteriorate faster than others. And you're going to be able to see that, and you do see that in this image. So here I have all the examples from this tutorial, and I hope you'll use them for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I would love to know what you're thinking. And as always, I'm sending out my biggest hugs to you all, and I hope you have a fantastic day.